Okay, get all the way in the camera.
Yeah, get in there, Joe.
That's what she said. Every year, Hollywood makes hundreds of movies. This was one of them. Hey, we just saw Deadpool 2 premiere, and I would like to get my money back. Now they're acting like Deadpool invented the R-rated superhero movie, when actually it was Marvel's 8. Punisher from 89 with Dolph, Punisher from 2004 with Tom Jane, the Punisher, Warzone. Blade 2, Blade Trinity, Man-Thing. So that was their 8th R-rated movie, but they're acting like Deadpool invented the whole R-rated. Wolverine did it after. No, you did it after Blade. And also, you didn't do it first, Marvel. I'm sorry. I bet you most of those jokes went right over 20-somethings' heads, and they still laughed anyways, because, people love Beyonce. I don't know what to tell you.
I don't love Beyonce. I don't.
Really?
I think she's a great singer.
She makes
I don't love her.
Dollars. That's all anyone's argument is when I say it. It's crap. But they make millions of dollars. Well, that doesn't mean that it's good. This movie will make millions of dollars, but it's not good.
That's everybody's always like they're doing something right because they're making a lot of money. That's what I think. One of my jazz professors at college was saying something about Kenny G. It's like you can hate Kenny G all you want, but he's a jazz musician and he's a millionaire, so he's doing something right.
I bet you if you were like, well, let's listen to some Van Halen, you'd be like, nope, they're crap. Well, they make millions of dollars more than Kenny G. So
I do have a weird soft spot for Van Halen. Neil, you want to weigh in?
Van Hagar, and I hate Van Hagar.
Van Hagar.
That was my first concert when I was 14 years old. It was the Van Hagar OUA 1-2 tour.
OUA 1-2.
Oh yeah.
It's better than my first.
Van Hagar plays Van Helsing.
I gotta tell you, what's with this trend of taking old 80s pop songs and giving them the heroin treatment? I know, it's because of Donnie Darko. Thanks, Donnie Darko, and your stupid Mad World. And you ruined it. Like not the last episode of Legion, but the one before then, they had to do a heroin version of Superman by R.E.M.
So
I'm Superman, so depressing, bro. And people are like, that's art. That's high art.
Well, so you're the first. He's the Joe. He's the Joe. He's the first guy I've met that doesn't like Donnie Darko.
No.
Or you just didn't like that.
Edition.
Okay.
I just hate that cover of Mad World because of what it's done to pop music.
Okay. Yeah. But yeah, you're right. A lot of people have followed suit since then. I actually did like the version of "Take on Me." That was in this. I did like that. I know that you hated it. I saw you go.
You saw me do the nosebleed. The nosebleed. It was the industrial strength, tumorous nosebleed. I think I just popped a capillary, and I don't know why. It just irks me because it was unique when they covered Mad World, the old Tears for, which by the way, it's not even close to as good as the Tears for Fears song. But they covered it. It was all right. Mad World. We use it on every Call of Duty commercial. Yeah. And then all of a sudden, it's just this thing like shiny, happy people.
I wonder if there's some benefit to getting a cover to it, to get cover version of these songs.
Sure.
What did you think?
In a slow motion montage on virtually every television show.
What did you think of the slow take on me, Neil?
I don't know. I've completely forgotten. I've been enjoying this listening to you guys.
It's not memorable.
No, it was good. I liked it. Because what the movie's established has already taken these songs, and this was just like the one variation of it.
Of the Galaxy.
Yeah, we can thank him for that. But I think Deadpool already established it with the first one, so it's not like it's doing anything crazy different. And
they don't. I think unlike Guardians, they don't understand irony. That's just my opinion.
So anyway, hey, thanks for joining us. If you just jumped on, you've reached the Fanatics of Film, and my name is Ben, and this is our Deadpool 2 review. And I hope we have an interesting panel today because we have a lot of completely different polarizing opinions here. Completely, it's like some of us freaking love this thing, and some of us hated it. Some of us are in between. and immediately I'll have to say right off, the first thing I thought of when we walked out was I really missed Tim Miller. I really missed Tim Miller's directing. I thought it was the first one I loved. I actually did go see it with my ex-girlfriend, and it was on the Valentine's Day weekend that it came out and everything, and we actually thoroughly enjoyed that first one. The story was strong, his origin story, everything he went through, Ajax, all that stuff that came into light. I really loved the first one. This second one, I felt like it was missing a lot of the heart that we had in the first one.
Well, I'm just gonna have to say, as far as the first film, I think they're good at putting together CGI and not much else. But I'm not I think Deadpool's overrated.
So you didn't. So you
overrated.
Did you even
draw feet? At least they made a joke about that.
Did you even like at least the intro for the first one?
No, first scene was cool. I'm not a fan of the director. I think he's just a commercial for hire filmmaker without any real artistry. But I thought it was entertaining for what it was. Not my favorite. I'm not on the bandwagon. There's only so many poo-poo caca dick jokes you can tell before it's just not funny anymore.
Sure.
And there's only so much Ryan Reynolds can do to carry a film like this, because that smugness just and pop culture reference, just that's not comedy to me.
Yeah.
I feel like
it seemed like to me like every single joke fell flat with you. Like I found myself laughing at some of the stuff,
no.
and then you okay.
The stuff that cracked me up was the scenes where Ryan Reynolds, when they actually tried to put some kind of dramatic core in this film with the soft piano and the tears, and then try and throw in a joke there. All the moments that Ryan Reynolds tried to capture the drama and the heart, that's what cracked me up, because there's none of that. I mean, you can't. I don't understand how they could even think anyone would take that seriously. That's what I was laughing at. Every time people weren't laughing, I was cracking up and going.
I should have given you some of my snap pops, because I actually snuck in a little piece so I could just snap on all those uncomfortable moments in the movie.
I should have just. You know what I should have done?
Which would have been
really
great in your movie
so
theater.
loud because there was no moments of silence ever. I have a sonic grenade on my phone. It's one of those things that you set off. It's the high pitched noise. I go to restaurants and I leave it on the table, and I just.
And everybody freaks out.
Mother's Day, we went up to Ruth's Diner with my family, and I put that on there. And my niece and my brother were like, "Where's that noise coming from?" And I'm just.
Is this how you dine and dash too? You just everybody
what
clears
is that
it.
noise? I wish I could have done that. But this movie's never quiet, so there used to be a time when comic book movies were really exciting for me.
Next time we go to see A Quiet Place, we'll do that during Quiet Place and just piss the hell out of everybody.
Difference. A Quiet Place knows how to use silence.
No, I know. So anyway, I think in general, this whole time it was a bizarre experience, because being there with Joe, he pointed out a lot of the.
I didn't ruin it.
No, it's okay.
Bitter cynicism.
No, it was fine. It was fine. But Neil, you actually had a really good time, and you really enjoyed this thing. Like,
he's gonna be Siskel to my Ebert tonight.
Oh man, I mean ever. I've read the comics. Cable is one of my favorites, just for the sheer sci-fi aspect of his background story and just the ridiculous ways that they took him.
Do you agree with Joe that he was wasted a little bit?
Oh yeah, and I knew he was going to be, because there's no way you could do a proper Cable sidekick,
right?
Without bringing him and having his own actual origin story or something like that.
Cable in Days of Future Past and then spun off his own movie from that. I think that would have been a better introduction.
Yeah, that would have been sweet,
because it would have been appropriate.
I mean, you think about like his whole past, and that was disappointing in the sense they don't even really go as far back as or see what part of the future he's coming from.
Yeah,
because there's no way Mr. Thunderfist here could even live long enough to even reach Cable's time frame. That's freaking thousands of years into the future.
Yeah.
So that whole premise was like
from the same time frame as Bishop. So like when the Sentinels have taken over, most of the X-Men are dead.
I want to say it's like 24th, 25th century.
Okay, so it's
something like that.
Okay. Maybe I'm confused.
Thousands is pushing it. Thousands is pushing it, but basically the whole idea of his being born was that Sinister wanted to raise him to defeat Apocalypse.
That's right. Yeah.
That was his whole idea, but then he was actually found by kind of a monk race and basically teleported hundreds of years into the future, because it was the only way they could escape his grip, was taking him so far into the future that it was just an outrageous place to even look for him. You know, it was like
right.
You know, once you get that far into the future, like the different parallels and things like that, it's just like you're looking for something that can't be found.
Cable, without a doubt, is definitely the best Marvel character that Rob Liefeld ever created.
That's cool.
And I remember in the 90s, a lot of people were like, "Oh, he's overrated."
Wow.
And I was like, "No, he's cool."
And the suck part was, at least as far as taking it back to this movie, is all he really showed off was his soldier kind of mentality and his big guns, which is a great part of Cable. But the fact that, you know, I kind of thought for a second when he was sitting there, ooh, can I jump into spoilers yet?
But spoilers.
I mean, well, and this isn't really that much of a spoiler, but I mean, him looking into the mirror with his iron chest and the actual technovirus that's taken over his body. I wanted to see him for a second just, you know, reach into that telekinesis of himself and push some of it back. You know, where you could see, you know, him struggling with that. Yeah. But you know, you don't get that feeling because I mean that whole thing is basically Apocalypse's attempt at killing him, and it's this whole virus that he has to, you know, mentally keep from overtaking his body constantly. So it's like the one thing that dumbs his powers down so that he's actually feasible as a character because he's so completely overpowered in the comics.
Yeah, and we're not going to get that storyline now the way that they're doing this.
No, but I didn't expect that either. You know, going into this. I mean, Deadpool is not the comic Deadpool, and some crazy, creepy, weird stuff.
I mean, it's the way he's been for like the last 15... Because
they brought him into it.
Are from 93, 94, 95.
Yeah.
And he doesn't break the fourth wall. He's not a Peter Parker knockoff with dumb one-liners. He's not a cliche-ridden, pull everything from everybody else and throw it in your face. And I just don't understand when that happened. All of a sudden, he just... within the comic community just exploded and it just
I'm not sure who took it over.
Well, for whatever that's worth, like I mean I talk to people who don't even know, like literally barely know what comics are,
right.
And they were like people who were you know I went to college with and have never touched a comic in their life, but they write. And so they even heard about the fourth. I mean, they heard about Deadpool doing this, and so I think in a way it's kind of a publicity stunt in that regard. And what I mean is it did the job to gain its popularity so big. And I mean I think that everybody gets the fourth wall. But you're saying that you prefer not.
Well, I guess. I think to the pseudo-intellectual, they're going to say, well, he's deconstructing technology. And I'm saying, no, it's just a bunch of dick and fart jokes with a little Ferris Bueller fourth wall breaking thrown in there. In fact, he rips off Ferris Bueller.
No, they were working on the time-traveling device.
Oh, okay.
So you didn't see that at all?
Right,
oh, man, you guys would have loved that! God.
We'll see.
I don't know, could it erase it? Could it give me
Yes, that's
2 hours
exactly
back?
what... Well, sorry, Joe.
Can I get my
sorry,
money back?
buddy. Yeah, actually they did. There was a time stretch where he gave the money back to everybody in the theater that I was at.
You know, I wish Ryan Reynolds was a little bit cooler like Bill Murray. You know, I don't know if you remember the ad campaign for the film. This was in '97, but it was The Man Who Knew Too Little with Bill Murray, my spirit animal, Bill Murray. And in one of the TV spots, he says, if you don't like this movie, find me, I'll give you your money back. I mean, not in person, but, you know, figure out a way to get in touch with me. I wish Ryan Reynolds would do that because I would ask for your money back since you bought the ticket.
So hilariously enough, at the end, he takes the time device and Negasonic and your girlfriend hand it back to him, and they're like, "What have we done?" And then you basically see him wander back to the scenes from freaking Wolverine Origins, where he's standing there as Wade Wilson with his mouth all sewn shut and everything.
Oh
like
my
that.
goodness!
And he basically steps into a couple different time frames where he comes in there and just blows his own brains out, and then keeps shooting his corpse.
It was 9 years ago. Let it go, dude.
Well, I think
then he shows up.
The whole point of doing these.
Well, that's.
But that was funny because he was like, just cleaning up the timeline, just going back, cleaning up the timeline. And then you see him, like, Ryan Reynolds looking at this script, and then he's, like, all smiling, and then it looks down, and it says Green Lantern on the script, and then you see his brains just explode onto the paper.
Jeez, man, I've never known an actor to be so butthurt from... I mean, he should be cracking jokes about his crappy Amityville Horror remake, because that made Green Lantern look like freaking Gandhi. Nobody even cares. You won't let it go. You won't let us forget about it until DC finally does a really good Green Lantern movie.
I actually enjoyed that movie.
I didn't hate it either because they got enough of the mythology right.
The love story was a little. Yeah, I thought that too.
Everyone knows it should have been Nathan Fillion. Everybody knows that.
Agreed. I didn't think it was a bad movie though, even with Ryan Reynolds' portrayal of it. But yeah,
I liked it as much as Captain America: The First Avenger, and they both came out the same year. And they were both better than the Green Hornet with Seth Rogen. So
I missed that one.
So let's try to talk about maybe some of the good things.
Well, I want to point out one thing that I thought was really odd for a film that tries to avoid racial stereotyping and make jokes about avoiding racial stereotyping and sexist jokes. A lot of homophobic jokes in there. So I guess that's okay. Really weird to me.
Yeah, there's definitely some inconsistency as far as like what is allowed, what isn't, what is intolerable, and what isn't.
I tried to take it all lighthearted because seriously, I mean, just kind of jump back to the comic book section. The comics are the comics, and this movie's kind of established itself just as Ryan Reynolds' little go-to as far as cracking jokes, making fun of pop culture, making fun of current things like that whole Kushner reference that he shot out there as well. I mean, it's not the Deadpool of the comics, and I like that for the big screen of what they're doing. With
you like
this.
to see you like seeing something different.
Yeah, I do, and it's very popcorn and just it's just good, kind of go to the movies show night, but actually having all those crazy elements of just lots of action, and this one stepping it up to just the ridiculous things of him being dismembered and.
And that's one thing that I was thoroughly impressed by was the action sequences were actually pretty creative for my like
Dominoes,
the whole trying to trying to get that armored car where Fire Fist was or whatever you call him now. Forgive me, but Thunder Fist?
It was Fire Fist.
I thought killing all the different ways of killing Deadpool, like I get it. His mutant power, he can't die. I felt like Edge of Tomorrow was more entertaining watching Tom Cruise die over and over again.
Well, that's because it's Tom Cruise. We love watching him die.
But my thing about this film is I actually went in just hoping to have a few giggles and a laugh. And by no means am I going to boycott the next movie or rage any kind of campaign. I don't care personally. I just wanted to laugh. And it didn't make me laugh. I thought the jokes were contrived and just not funny. It was it's kind of one of those things where now it made me feel embarrassed to be a comic book reading nerd because it's really that's
what it's come to.
For nerd. It felt like it was all from the Seth MacFarlane book of humor. I just kept waiting for Deadpool to go, hey Lois, you remember that time? Pop culture reference, and that's it.
Which is strange because you know what? I really dislike Family Guy for that reason. I think I've seen maybe 3 or 4 Family Guy episodes because I can't get into that
that's the first time
discombobulated, kind of joke telling where you've got to reference one thing to reference another to get back to a joke that you're
That's what this movie did.
Kind of, but for some reason this works for me, and I don't know where the parallel or where to draw the differences in it. But for some reason,
man. I mean, we can laugh at the same joke, but there'll be different reasons why we're laughing. So I understand.
True enough.
It hit your funny bone. Peter, the dude who has no powers. That was funny to me. Just because I like that comedian, and he is a comedian, unlike Ryan Reynolds, who is just good at memorizing lines and then doing the same facial expressions and same delivery in everything he does. Because if you've seen Blade Trinity, you've basically seen him play Wade Wells, or Wade. What's his last name? Wilson. Yeah, Wilson. Is it Wilson? Yeah. It's Marvel or DC. It's always going to be a WW or a DD or a BB. You know how it goes. But bing, bang, boom. So, anyways.
Yes. I see where you're coming from, Joe. I do. I feel you. Why was this so entertaining for me? Frank. I guess I like the characters that they established. I kind of went in there with a grain of salt, knowing that there's no way they're going to do Cable justice.
Or Shatterstar.
I was a little bummed with that because I thought I saw Shatterstar early. I thought he was the guy in the prison, Black Todd. I thought that was Shatterstar for a moment there.
But didn't Shatterstar actually look good in the costume? They actually got the costume right.
Yeah, it was pretty good.
As opposed to Domino.
And then just completely wrecking them instantly.
Instantly. So that was very, very painful for me. And one who it's like you get all these, here's the X-Force, awesome. And I mean, I get it. They're trying to make this huge.
It's not
Right. Well, okay, right. So, of course, but anyway, like it was painful for me to see all of these. Just, I mean, you almost cringeworthy at that point, seeing them all just die so quickly.
Well, and
Pennywise wasn't in it for.
It was pretty funny how just like two-dimensional he made them, you know, and it was funny at the audition, and then they basically just put them out there. They've got no backstory. They've got nothing. You're just part of the team, and here you go. And I thought they'd have like a moment or two
or something,
but. Just blaming their deaths on the high winds.
How about that cameo by that big Hollywood A-lister as the Vanisher when he gets zapped? I thought
that was pretty interesting,
obligatory and unnecessary.
It cracked me up, but it was probably unnecessary too. I thought it would have been just as humorous if it was just a backpack.
Right, that would have been hilarious.
And then the backpack just kind of fizzles.
Funny. It's just the backpack floating in the air, and you're like, oh, I get it, because he's the Vanisher and he's invisible. That's funny, but boy, you know what I think my problem is too? Witty banter. Nobody actually has witty banter unless you're in a freaking improv comedy troupe. Nobody does witty banter. Nobody's that quick, and all the witty banter between Domino and Deadpool when they're doing the gathering the team, the interviews or whatever. After a minute, I just checked out. I don't even remember half of what they were saying. And I feel like Domino was really wasted in design.
Yeah, it is. And he said, no, it isn't. And then she said, yeah, it is. And then he said, yeah, no, it's not. And then she said, yeah, it is. And then I'm pretty sure he said...
And that went on... That seemed to go on a little bit long, forever.
They could have used a gif of Will Ferrell from Anchorman going, we are laughing.
Right.
We are having fun.
That would have been appropriate. That would have been appropriate.
Okay, I don't mind that they're diversifying and like cast Domino's typically... I don't even think Domino's a white girl. Isn't she usually like...
I honestly don't know.
Latino?
I just thought she was albino.
Well, but that's the whole point is it doesn't matter who they cast... She will
right, it
like
shouldn't.
Domino, just giving her a little paint job and an eye coloring there. I felt like it's gone back to... It's weird how, Deadpool they tried to make look like Deadpool from the comic as much as they can. And they did with Shatterstar and they tried with Cable, but they just didn't even. When it came to Domino, they're just like, whatever.
Because they knew she was going to be the star in this, and they knew that they had to cast someone else.
Was she the star?
I mean,
Was she the
I guess. I guess, but I mean...
She was the best of the X-Force team up until...
I thought the teenager from the first film, the goth girl, was a better breakout in the first film than she was in this second film.
I don't know. I thought Domino was fantastic in this one.
Colossus is always the best. He's always going to be my favorite out of all the characters.
He was definitely a standout. You mentioned...
my favorite X-Men.
Yeah.
Because I love how just he's so white bread. Like, to get him to swear in this, that actually did tickle my funny bone.
Actually, that Joss Whedon graphic comic that was on Netflix for a little bit and then went to YouTube. You seen that one? It's a motion graphic comic, but it was pretty interesting because they put Colossus in the light of being the destroyer of this particular world. And Kitty Pryde is there with him trying to get him to realize that, he's not capable of that. But this whole planet basically worships him as the destroyer of their world, and they're trying to kill him off. It's one of the most, it was one of the most intriguing things I've seen of Colossus, and kind of gave me a new appreciation for him.
I like, that's one thing I was always kind of disappointed in the previous X-Men continuity that Peter Rasputin wasn't Russian. But then again, at first I was disappointed that Alfred Molina played Doc Ock as an American. But then turns out Spider-Man 2 is probably one of the best Marvel movies of all time.
You can change characters and if you do it right, if it's done well,
they did make. But part of what is appealing
to what you liked him, right,
is the fact that he's Russian.
And he's kind of white bread, and he almost feels like, a total fish out of water. He's a foreigner, and even though he's been with the X-Men since the get-go, he's always kind of in that position of just being the one who takes things takes things so literal, and he's always, delivering slow and sincerely. And
And I did like how you could actually hear his metal.
Right?
You could actually
when you're slapping his ass.
And actually, I think he was the most sincere of all the characters. You get a CGI character, and having him, he was actually the most sincere. The most emotional moments were with him. I think some of the most emotional.
CGI too, because all the facial expressions are definitely, it's all CG. It's not like a real.
Right. But what I'm saying is the emotional parts that had the most impact for me personally were ones with Colossus, which was great.
I agree.
I don't know. It was hard for me, and I was at the theater with my mother-in-law, who lost her husband last July, and they're huge comic book fans. They went to Fanaddicts together.
Oh wow!
And I basically kind of took that spot tonight it was my first Fanaddicts experience, and it was pretty cool. It was actually really fun, and it was kind of weird at first because everybody was just milling about in the lobby, and I was thinking there was going to be a little more. Kind of.
Were they taking photos of cosplayers?
Yeah, and there was one guy who was to the hilt with the Deadpool outfit, and I mean the size, the build,
everything, huh?
Everything, the ass cheeks. I mean, he had it all going on. But so when we got inside,
did you get a camera? Did you get a shot of that? I'm just kidding.
No, I just gave him a walk by, a little glare and a wink. But so when we got into the theater,
shake of the fist.
yeah, when we got into the theater, they can really only do I guess by rule with the theater, they've got like a half an hour to do their prizes and giveaways and stuff like that. Yeah. So it's basically just a bunch of hype, just getting people hyped for stuff. And then the theater actually has a bunch of prizes, and they were giving out prizes like this,
and look,
which I felt really overjoyed.
Deadpool,
right?
It looks like Cable. He's got the white hair. He doesn't have the.
He's got a yellow eye that stays yellow. Yeah. But
so that doesn't look like Cable at all. It just looks like another pop.
So we went all
They're
crazy and freaky, and I freaked out for Cable, and I won a little bobblehead, and actually, so mother-in-law won some free tickets to go see Solo.
Oh,
for next week. She did.
Oh,
yeah.
Nice.
She was screaming and hollering and hooting and drew enough attention to where they were like, "Here you go." And she got 2 free tickets.
Is she going to gonna get on the Millennium Falcon too? Because apparently there's some.
Yeah, I'm going on Saturday.
So that's completely different. Yeah, it's tomorrow through Saturday, which has nothing to do with the actual release of the movie. Like it won't be there at the time the movie's going on.
Hey, I just want to set foot in the Millennium Falcon. That's all.
For anybody who doesn't know this, just FYI, quick side note, for a Solo Star Wars story, they are showing they're actually having 4 Millennium Falcons all over the country just to promote it. Little crazy weirdness happening. So I guess they're going to have one here at in our town. So pretty interesting stuff. I'm dying to know how detailed it's going to be. But anyway.
Yeah. So the purpose of that whole little intro and sidestep was just the fact that here I am kind of sharing the laughter, and I think that I really enjoyed too. Maybe everything wasn't a joke or it was all nostalgia kind of based and this and that. But as far as the overall, I don't know. I thought it flowed really well. And when they did throw in the actual mood moments, there was a couple times where, and maybe it was because of the present company that I was in and the excitement of the theater that, I was getting pretty teared up there.
Serious?
Yeah.
Man, those were the comedy moments for me. That's comedy gold right there.
You were. Joe was laughing at every part where they were trying to make it dramatic and serious, and I totally got that. It was definitely things fell flat. But I actually did like this specific scene right here where he's trying to block the bullets all with his swords. But that was actually really funny to me.
That's misleading because they changed the dialogue in the trailer
in a few places.
Quite a few places. But see, that's the thing for me is where I couldn't take, because you can't take it seriously. So that's why I thought it was monumentally naive of them to try and take it seriously. So when they would have those dramatic moments, that's what would make me laugh. Is like, really? That's like having a sad, actual heart-reaching moment in a Naked Gun movie. It just doesn't work.
It doesn't work.
And I also thought that like the whole I'm dying for 5 minutes, that joke
that was actually horrible. It went way too long.
Had it ended 3 minutes earlier, but instead it was like when Peter Griffin hits his shin and sits there for 5 minutes going,
oh yeah, what's going on here?
Just oh my god.
Now I have to go back and see this tonight apparently because. Yeah, you're right. You're not like watching Peter Griffin do that thing for like 2 minutes straight is annoying as hell.
It's annoying.
And yet somehow, maybe it's because I just got caught in the right amount of laughter to where then they got me. They got me, Joe. They suckered me in, and then when it was time to get tearful, I was like, okay, you can take me there too.
What's her name? Monica. How do you pronounce her last name? From Firefly and V. Currently, his love interest, Monica.
It's right there. Baccarin?
Yes.
Baccarin? I'm not sure.
She didn't spend a whole lot of time in this movie because she's got to get going back to Gotham.
the greatest show on television.
Wow. Gotham. We need to do an episode about
We will.
And how it used to be awesome, and now it's just batshit crazy, and they don't know what they're doing.
Batshit.
I mean, and you should, censor those. Every time a swear comes out of my mouth, you should put in like a chimichanga or something to kind of...
You know what? That was something that I was kind of, even with Deadpool 1, that I was kind of... Yeah, I wasn't sure if they should be dropping the F-bombs and doing things, because when Deadpool started breaking the fourth wall and doing things that he did, they'd get clever. They'd kind of work around it. He wouldn't ever quite, drop the F-bomb. He wouldn't really curse or anything like that, but he'd find some other way of going around it, chimichanga included.
Right.
Well, a lot of other characters would in the first movie, but this one, everybody's dropping the F-bomb left and right because, R rating, and that means adult. And adult, I think we've come to this place in our popular culture where now adult means as much sex, nudity, and violence, language, drug use as possible, as opposed to just telling a story that's smart that only adults could comprehend because it's just too thematically mature for children. But we are basically just grown children.
So in turn, the more adult it is, the more childlike it is.
That's why I have a hard time with a lot of like HBO fantasy and sci-fi shows, because I don't feel like they understand. I feel like people that watch them and rave about them are not people who generally watch that stuff. So they're like, oh, HBO, it's prestigious. And look, everybody's swearing and doing drugs and having sex with robots. And oh, it's so adult. And I'm like, the 14-year-old in me would love that thing, especially when mom's not in the room and I got some tissue. But, as an adult now, I guess I just hunger for something that feeds my brain a little bit more. And again, I didn't expect a whole lot going into this movie. I just expected they would at least make me laugh.
So a few more things that I thought was definitely missing from this. The first one, I actually did love the banter between Deadpool and Negasonic. She was great in the first one, and she was pretty much like once again, it's like both she and Colossus were literally two other sides of the coin, and so of his they were yin to his yang, whatever. And so it was great to actually see that happen in the first one. You had this great three-way, so to speak, or the triangle that was happening between the three of them, and that was really missing in this. And I realized that they were trying to kind of introduce all these other characters and stuff, but I think it kind of suffered without Negasonic in there, because she was built up so much in the first one. I actually did really miss her. I wanted to see more of her, and it was like the only time you saw her was with, oh, this is my girlfriend and blah blah blah. Like, so honestly, that was an unfortunate thing.
I got to tell you too, when you put a moody suburban teenager with a lot of mascara in a situation like this, that's always funny to me. Because they're just funny. And
Deadpool's remarks were always funny in the first one, but anyway.
I guess it would have been a little funnier if she'd actually, it kind of seems like you're still a moody teenage character, that was kind of odd. And so it was like, okay, we've established that, and she's going to be exactly the same, and that's all we need to know.
And she's got a girlfriend now.
Yeah, now she's got a girlfriend, so all, 5 different, pieces of dialogue are all you need for this particular movie, so...
So your favorite, but one of your favorite, you said literally, Joe, your favorite moment was when all the X-Men are...
my favorite moment was the X-Men cameo. They don't say anything. It's just a reaction to
that was great.
And they shut the door.
I thought it was more entertaining than the entire film.
I thought that was great too, Joe.
It's sad that they have to be in the same continuity, but whatever, Fox and mutants. Won't matter anyways, because eventually Fox is going to be owned by Disney.
It won't.
Disney's going to release a ridiculous amount of sequels, prequels, sidequels, television shows, and eventually Disney will buy every studio, and Walmart, and McDonald's, and Dunkin' Donuts, and Starbucks, and eventually the government, and eventually they'll invade your country, and we'll just be one world under the dictatorship of Mickey Mouse.
And we'll all be forced to wear Mickey Mouse hats.
Now, this is why South Park completely rules over Family Guy any day, because they've already shown that and predicted it.
Did I just do a South Park?
You completely just did a South Park.
I haven't watched South Park since the Trapped in the Closet episode, and I just literally did an episode right there.
It's a Jonas Brothers episode where they come to town, and Mickey Mouse basically shows his true colors and turns into a hulking giant to manipulate and destroy the entire show.
Because that's my fear. My fear is social media taking over, which you as a human being are based on your social stats, and it's already happening in China, which is scary. And eventually you will be a worthless human being if you don't have good social
You know,
skills.
I've kind of noticed that lately too with Facebook. Is like, so you go off the grid for a little bit, and then you come back, and my social cred is just is gone so low into the tank. It almost feels like I can't, lease a car or anything like that, or try to get a new job.
That's how they look you up. That's how they look up on Facebook. They're like, oh, I don't know about this guy. His credit's really good, but I'm looking at him on Facebook. I say, how many friends does he have?
Nobody's actually paid attention to him in like 2 weeks.
Man,
I don't know if you need to.
I'm already ruined because I don't have a Hipstergram account, so therefore, and I don't tweet, so therefore, I can't get a bank loan, can't rent a hotel, can't get airplane tickets, and pretty soon, when I die, I won't even be allowed a burial. They'll just put me it'll be like the Big Lebowski. My family will have to put me in ashes and then in a coffee can and then throw me on the wind.
And ironically, the one thing that will be left of you, Joe, is your Facebook account.
Yep, because it'll never
ever go.
So,
I have a lot.
And on a weird hysterical side, but slightly serious note, like several people I know who have passed away, their Facebook and their accounts are still up.
Oh yeah.
And running, and it's like, okay, so I guess that they live forever.
From them.
It's like, damn you, Zuckerberg! I hate Facebook.
Yeah, just think about the next 20, 30 years.
Yeah.
And just how many people.
Yeah.
It's going to be like, all my notifications are from dead people.
It's the same reason why I read comic books is good escapism. They're not deep. They're not Shakespeare. I don't care how revered Alan Moore is. It's still not Dickens or Hemingway or Steinbeck. It's still escapism with social commentary. I remember when it was fun and exciting when you get 1 or 2 comic book movies a year. Now Marvel's putting out 6, and DC's going to start doing the same thing, and eventually people won't read the comics anymore. They'll just, or if they read them, they won't buy them at the comic book shop. They'll get their digital subscription to look at over their phone, because that's how you read comics. And and then eventually these movies are they're going to run their course with oversaturation. I mean, it's already happening with critics and with other filmmakers are getting tired of these movies. Because as much as I love them, like this film, my rating is basically based on nifty visual effects. Eventually, Robert Downey Jr. and Chris Evans and all these guys are going to retire from these roles, so they're going to have to either reboot it or just do the James Bond thing and throw a different actor in there and just continue the continuity. But again, comic books always have different volumes. They start over, so it would make sense.
It will be particularly interesting to see what happens in Phase 5 or whatever, whenever we reach that point when people are like, Robert Downey is literally like, okay, I'm 70 and I'm done, or just whatever happens with this.
The references in the movie are the ones
Sure.
I pretty much, I soaked it in, but I drank the damn Kool-Aid and I loved it.
And like you were saying before, Joe, like the flash dance with the bullets and everything, all that stuff, with the right here, the flash dance thing, and the James Bond opening was pretty. That was pretty clever. I mean, there were a lot of things that I did find clever. And they're tending to do that with certain aspects of this, but I really did, and I thought the story could have used a little bit of growing, of course with Cable, and of course, like I said, I missed Negasonic, and of course killing it pretty much all of the X-Force. Yeah, not a huge fan of that.
Well,
but
you know what? Okay, so there was one particular prediction that I had going on for this movie, or at least that I was hoping for, because with bringing Cable into it, I'm like, okay, we can't do Cable's backstory, but there's at least going to be, within the humor, within everything that's going on, an actual twist to this story, such as Fire, Thunder, Fist, Fister.
Fistor.
He's like, yeah, he's actually, a young Apocalypse in this particular timeline.
Oh, okay.
Sure. Yeah, or he's like a young Sinister, or somebody like that, who's so Cable's actually coming back to actually kill this kid because he is basically the harbinger of doom and destruction, which they kind of made him, but getting to save him just kind of just saving him like that. It was it kind of took that overall sci-fi element and the twist that it could have taken. So it very much became just like a straightforward. You know what's funny about the first Deadpool that I watched it. I really enjoyed that the first time. I went with someone else and enjoyed it the second time because it was like, ooh, I'm going with somebody. I'm going to show them how exciting this thing is. By the third time, I'm like, this whole movie is just one-liner after one-liner. Mm-hmm. The whole dang thing, too. I mean, something is being referenced by something.
But I feel like, personally, there were too many people. There were too many new characters. They tried to... I mean, I was excited because they basically didn't have Tim Miller this time around because Ryan and everybody wanted to make it a smaller film, and Tim Miller wanted to make it bigger than the first one. He wanted to keep it smaller, but it felt like they were trying to force too many characters in when they should have just built up on the same people. They should have built on Negasonic. They should have. And Colossus was great having him in there. He was definitely by far my favorite part of the film. Joe and I actually discussed how he's one of our favorite characters from the old days, from way back when I used to read X-Men comics. He was definitely one of my favorites of all time. But having them in there, and of course, with not having so many people in there, and to be plot devices for the comedy, like killing all of X-Force and all that stuff, they could have had, instead of having that, they could have had more Cable. They could have had more Cable's development of his character, just more Cable time, because I think he and of course the cab driver guy had more time with him. Anyway, that's just my opinion. Once again, for those are the things that we had in the first one and didn't get enough of in this one. It's just development of those same people. Yeah. They should have just kept the same 10 people that they had in the original, or just maybe a couple. Right.
Yeah.
Keeping it small. Keeping it small. Damn it.
The only reason why Stan Lee has a cameo in the Deadpool movies at all, because he didn't create Deadpool, he didn't create Cable. It's because he's the creator of the X-Men. And he's the last of the old guys who came from that era. That's what a lot of people complain about. Another obligatory Stan Lee cameo, but you got to give respect for the man. He was one of the last. He's outlived virtually everybody else he was in the industry with. So he's become the elder statesman for comic books.
And there's a ton of disrespect towards him now by SJWs, FYI. And just they're a lot of people are coming after him now because of the whole whatever. But it's really sad. There's a lot of people are disrespecting him completely.
Well, people have had problems with him, I think, over the years for the fact that, and it's not his decision, but for a lot of the characters, for a long time, he got sole creator credit. And
when there were other people involved,
it wasn't that Stan Lee did that. It was he didn't stand up for the other and say no. Gil Kane or Steve Ditko or Jack Kirby also created, but after a while he did, and it's because of him that you get Steve Ditko's name as co-creator of Spider-Man, and Jack Kirby is co-creator of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. and all that.
I always took him as kind of the elder statesman, even when they were getting going. He was basically like the director of all these, like Ditko and Kirby. He was basically putting these guys to work in a way that he was just kind of stimulating their creative juices. When he was over in World War II, he was writing comics and creating stuff. He was basically like I think a communications officer or something like that, and he was basically just jotting down ideas the whole time he was over there. Yep, that's a piece of nostalgia that definitely needed to be there.
Have you guys ever seen the where they have like table discussions or something on YouTube? I can't remember what it was, but anyway, it was like there was one that I saw, and it was Mark Hamill, Stan Lee, and J.J. Abrams but it was an interesting story that Stan Lee tells in this, is that he just basically tells him, like in the 60s or 50s or whenever it was when he was trying to explain, he would go to a party and they would ask him what he did, and he was like, I write children's stories, and and now it's like this huge thing. It's just funny that how times have changed, etc. That thing, but it's funny to see that and how he used to have to tell people he wasn't necessarily ashamed of it, but people would be like, "Oh, just children's stuff," and now it's this thing.
There was a time where he and a lot of other artists were ashamed of it.
Creepy sex mouth,
Pennywise, I kept thinking, well, that's okay. He's got to go back to the sewer. When he had his moment where he
was in the wood chipper.
He was in the wood chipper. I just kept thinking, they all float down here.
Right? I kept thinking of Fargo, because I was looking at him like, I recognize you. Why do you look like a young Steve Buscemi? And then all of a sudden there's a wood chipper, and he ends up, and I'm like, no way! It's
kind
him!
of like Alan Tudyk, man. I just feel bad that Alan Tudyk just... I hope you said he had more scenes.
There's got to be some really good deleted scenes coming out of this.
You don't get somebody like Alan Tudyk in a movie and have him utter like 2 unintelligible lines and have him get knocked out. That's a waste of talent right there. So hopefully there'll be deleted scenes. And Terry Crews, man. I love Terry Crews. I love Idiocracy, and I love Brooklyn Nine-Nine, and I love him in Arrested Development. And when I saw Terry Crews in this film, I was thinking, now we're going to get some really awesome stuff.
I was thinking that too, with Shatterstar and him.
Punchline.
Well, and that was kind of a suck because I was laughing pretty hard at that actually when they all just started dying off really quickly. And just you kind of then you realize, oh my God, this mayhem is going to unleash. I was laughing so hard, I was like clenching one of my knees up to my chest because I so wanted to see Shatterstar, throw his blades around a couple times. Could have been anything, but seriously, them jumping out of the plane and dying immediately.
But Peter was fun because he kind of almost came off as a badass. He jumps over the hood and he's on the spot, and then acidic vomit, and that's the end of him. I like that. That was funny. Yeah. There were moments that
was a clever moment. It was painful, but at the same time, I also realized that there's no way they're going to be able to develop Shatterstar and Zeitgeist and all of them, with this kind of thing.
That was the joke. I think everyone thought, well, at least I don't think anybody expected them all to die, but spoilers. But I think they thought, at least I thought, okay, we'll at least get one action scene where they get to show their powers. And nope,
not at all. Just get them all. Just kill them all in one scene. Just kill them all in one scene.
I did like how Deadpool kept, throughout the rest of them, he's like X-Force, just X-Force. That's right. Just use it as a tagline.
Actually, Shatterstar was a member of the X-Force for a while. That's right.
Yeah.
But he was about the only one. Eventually Deadpool becomes a member of the X-Force years later.
But. I don't know, that was such a big turn for me too, and there was something about that, and I think it was what initially attracted me to Cable is there was something very different about that particular time of the artistry going into comics.
Oh yeah.
And it was just it instantaneously caught my eye.
Like
Jim Lee
and Rob Liefeld and Todd McFarlane and Ron Landman, all those guys. Where they drew muscles upon muscles, like
and these small heads, like it was
and weird
Fist
feet.
of the North Star type of thing, and strange, and weird feet that had no like dimension, or it was just like it was like a beaver paddle with whatever.
Did you catch that joke? They actually made fun. It's like it's an artist, like a bad comic book artist who can't draw feet. I thought Rob Liefeld's probably laughing while he's cashing his huge residual paycheck.
That was good. But that was some of the early stuff. And Shatterstar wasn't the best of the best, but he definitely had a cool look and a cool thing going. And I'm like, oh, this will be nice. They actually got his look a little good. And
he came from New Warriors, didn't he? When Rob Liefeld was drawing on that, he ended New Warriors and turned it into X-Force in like 1990.
Is that where that came from?
Yeah, I think Shatterstar, if I remember correctly, it's been years since I've read New Warriors,
it's been
which
a
is
very long time.
a television series, by the way. So, along with Cloak and Dagger. And
interesting.
Really,
oh man, they're really throwing them out there.
Well, because
Guardians worked and nobody knew about it, so why not throw everything else out?
Well, Marvel and DC both having streaming services before the end of the year. DC's already got Swamp
and Disney
series, Metropolis series.
That's where I was going
to... Wait, and these are all live-action DC?
Yeah, they're all coming to their streaming service between the end of this year and the beginning of next year. So Metropolis is probably going to be one of the last ones. But Teen Titans, followed by the spin-off Hawk and Dove. And then Swamp Thing's getting his own series. Well, Marvel's going to do the same thing. Eventually, there'll be a streaming service where you can go, and hopefully they can clear the rights, especially with Marvel, for all the companies that distributed and produced their television shows before they were a studio. I'm hoping that you can go back for both companies and get all their movies, live action, animated, TV pilots, unaired pilots, like that. That would be I would pay money every month. But overall, again, I just wanted to be entertained by this movie, and
you weren't.
I just really wasn't that entertained. I was more annoyed. So I would give it out of 4 stars. I'd give it 2 stars out of 4, just mainly because it did have good fight scenes, a lot of good use of CGI, and some actual not good use of CG, and some clunky dramatic moments that actually amused me.
But I'm dying to know. What did you give the first one? I'm dying to know what your star rate. 2.5. Okay.
Just because it was slightly clever.
Okay.
More not clever, but slightly funnier in the jokes and the delivery, and it had a better story. I felt like this took forever.
Well, I felt like it was light years better. But I felt like it was light years better. Apparently. Just according to what the interviews I've read, the first one, it took them 10 years to write, apparently, because they kept writing and rewriting it and submitting it to the studio. The studio kept saying no. They said it then they submitted it 7 times or something like that. But over the period of 10 years of writing and rewriting and writing and rewriting, and finally, this last one, I thought, comparatively speaking, the first one, I gave 3.5 out of 4, maybe even a 4-star rating on the first one. I thought it was great. The comedy was hilarious. It was off the wall. It was really fun for me, the first one. This one I would give more of maybe a 3 or maybe a 2.7. I don't know if that's even allowed.
Yeah.
Or a 2 and 3/4.
Give it bullet holes, Ben. Give it whatever you like. I mean, throw some flesh wounds in there.
Well, I'm just trying to keep it somewhat of the same continuity so that we all at least have the same glass that we're measuring into. Yeah. So like we're pouring a beer or whatever we're pouring into this glass, and at least we're measuring it out of the same glass.
You know, and hopefully on the third movie, because there will be a third movie. That this will be, you know, because
I hope they take their time with it, because it didn't feel like they really took the. This felt rushed.
This was the Funhouse ride, is what this was to me. You know, I enjoyed it, and I thought it was great just for the visual effect and just the enjoyment of hilarity. You know, and there was some things that fell flat, but for the most part, I thought they touched on a lot of different tones. I knew they weren't going to be able to do all the things that I would hoped, or like expand on the whole Cable story and the lineage. But as far as
did you agree? I'm dying to know. Did you agree with me and Joe that the ending, you know, how he dies, like he almost dies like 10 times, and it's like way too long? Do you agree with us that that scene was too long?
It was like Peter Griffin hitting his shin.
Strangely enough, I was okay with it.
Interesting, because I literally felt the pain.
This was weird, you know, and I thought he was gonna. I think if he would have come back that time before he went into the netherworld or whatever, it was getting a little like, all right, now this could probably go.
Well, because like they have him like, okay, he's dead with his eyes open. Like that happened like 3 times, and so at that point you're like, you're predicting it. At that point, it becomes less predictable, right. And that's where if you want to make him die several times, do it a different way or something else to make him like. I think the most clever way to do that is you have him like have people literally really think that he is dead in several different ways, and you know, kill him one way, kill him whatever. But they did that the entire movie anyway. So I know.
It was the Seth MacFarlane school. Right. But I definitely know that this movie was fast-tracked. You know how I know? They already have a 2-year anniversary edition of the Blu-ray for the first movie to tie in with this. You knew as soon as the box office receipts came in, the money people were going, sequel, we got a winner. Do that sequel. Get that script out like in 2 weeks. We got a new
Well, and so here's the thing on that one too, is just, you know, it is not true to the comic and stuff that it is. I mean, it is at least refreshing in the line of all the other movies that are coming out. I mean,
they all take liberties though. They all have to.
They do. And I think since Guardians and the latest of Thor's, the Ragnarok, that have just taken the more comical tones, that one like fell flat for me. I don't know why.
See, I thought that was the best Thor movie that because the first 2 weren't good. They were 3-star films, but that one was a 4-star film to me.
I'm sorry, that crotch to the face scene is pretty damn funny.
So better if he'd given him a teabag just straight up.
So yeah, I mean, so Joe, you gave this a 2 out of 4. I give this a 3. I gave it a 3 out of 4. Okay. The first one I gave definitely like more. You know, honestly, the first one I probably more thought along the lines of a 4 out of 4. But
well, and I was going to make that point as well. It was kind of funny how Ryan Reynolds was saying, "Hey, we got that whole origin thing taken care of, and now we can really just cut loose and, you know, have fun with this."
Right.
Which I think they did, but I also think it was, you know, kind of because the first one I'm like 4.5. You know, very close. Because I thought that was a great introduction of Deadpool to the cinematic world.
And the seriousness of Ajax and I mean, he makes fun of his name and everything, but like this the depth of their two of these two arch enemies, like that was really felt huge.
Because it was Deadpool up against like Deadpool's comedic, you know, his mannerisms and everything up against, you know, the world that is quite serious. He's up against these villains. He's Colossus and Negasonic, and it's basically just him. In this one, it's much more everybody else is falling in line with the Deadpool way of things, and they're just like, you know...
Except for Cable for the most part.
Right, which, you know, has always been his kind of... his counterpoint in that regard. But, I mean, the other characters in there, like Dopinder, I did like what he was doing, but he was definitely, you know... He's right on board with what...
crazy.
Shatterstar. So besides him, are there any other characters that you were happy with? Like as far as how they portrayed them?
Always Colossus.
Yeah. But you said specifically that like him going up against Juggernaut for at first it seemed like he was.
Yeah. And Juggernaut and Colossus, they've gone toe to toe many times. And I mean, what's the point of being a giant guy made out of steel if you can't fight somebody like Juggernaut? And so at first I was a little annoyed that Juggernaut was getting in all the punches, but then of course they turned it around.
I really like Domino as I thought she was great, and maybe it was just because of the situations and the action that was going on, because it was very much an action role. Mm-hmm. I thought she did great. And then as far as Cable, Brolin, he pulled off a pretty dang good Cable as far as the mannerisms and just being that kind of badass. I just wish I would have seen more.
Yeah, I just think once again, I reiterate that they could have just kept most of the main characters in there, and I was sad to see his girlfriend / wife / whatever, Vanessa. I mean, I actually did love her in Firefly, years ago, and I did like her in the first few seasons of Gotham, and she's been an incredibly awesome, strong character in these movies, and it was a shame to kind of see her go.
I forget she was in V.
Oh,
that's right. She was that's right. She was in the V reboot that nobody saw and nobody remembers. But Joe and I actually really like that.
I have it on DVD Blu-ray. I like it.
I will have to borrow that from you if I can.
And at the very end, Mark Singer shows up, and you're like, "Holy crap, Mark Singer from the original V."
That was great to see. Yeah. Here. That was really great to see. So yeah, she was actually a great Diane, in the V
you never saw it. You remember the
reboot.
Oh yeah.
They had
I was up in that
miniseries. Who played the original Diane?
Yeah.
Is her mother on this show?
Yeah, it was so cool.
It was almost like they could have been set in the same continent.
Right.
They weren't, but they could have.
They could have. You're right.
They absolutely could have been, but it was shamefully overlooked show.
It was shameful because I think it was when the CGI was pretty. It's dated if you ever watch it, but I mean it was at that time it was TV budget. They were like, okay, we can make this shape and do this, and that's it. But honestly, it was great. I loved her, and I was sad to see her be spoiler alert annihilated in this movie. So anyway,
earlier I mentioned Alan Tudyk as kind of like a wasted cameo. The only time you're ever probably going to see Alan Tudyk play an outright bad guy is on V, the first few episodes, where he is one of them, but he's a police
That's
officer,
right.
and he's actually villainous, killing people. You're like, Alan Tudyk, this will not stand. You are a whole man Washburn. And then you realize, nope, he's an actor. He can
do whatever he wants. Yeah.
Good job. So, I don't know. This movie was kind of a wasted experience for me. I'm hoping that the next wave of Marvel movies coming up, Ant-Man and Wasp, and eventually New Mutants and X-Men Dark Phoenix, I hope they are, and the next Avengers, I hope they are much more enjoyable. I thought Josh Brolin did a good job, but I thought he did a better job as Thanos. That's just me.
And then they had to throw that in his face.
I was actually surprised when we came and looked at it. It's like an 8. It's like an 8.0 on IMDb. Crazy. Yeah. I mean, I definitely don't. It was definitely light years less that than the first one, in my opinion. I loved the first one, and this one I didn't love. It was still fun though. I loved. My favorite part were the action sequences. That was great, and I'm gonna miss the hell out of Marina.
Vanessa, she'll probably be back in the next one.
You think so?
She's gonna make a cameo.
Probably going to be smaller and smaller each one.
Well,
just dead. But
so you think they'll have like sequences? Well, he'll die and then go into the light a little bit and see her again.
Well, with as many pop culture, rapings as they did in this particular show, she's going to show up as a Force ghost. Anyway, I am really hoping with the third one they'll be able to expand some stuff and keep it a little more concise and do those kind of things that expand the story rather than just making mockeries of things. Because one of the coolest things that I think they missed the point on in the story that I would like to see is, just being able to expand on the sci-fi of Cable, like Deadpool going into the dead zone as much as he did this particular time. Love to see him actually encounter death herself.
Did you say death herself?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'd actually like for Ryan Reynolds to just get over Green Lantern. It bombed, and he got a career now out of Deadpool, so just give it a rest.
Dude, I don't think I think it's funny that you do see him as being this totally like hurt person. I honestly I think maybe he's having fun with making fun of it, but I don't know. Is he really that upset about it?
No, it feels like
he got a paycheck either way, so I'm sure he's fine with it. But
to me, it feels like this is. I mean, as an actor and somebody who's, especially the success of the first one, he's basically getting creative liberties in any direction, which is why
Well, I think personally, it's a great opportunity to make jokes about them because they were such a long time ago. But the thing is, I think the big thing here is that the audience knows exactly. I mean, the audience went to that see Green Lantern. The audience, the people that watch this movie, watched those movies, and I think that's why. Maybe that's just my, I don't know, that's my opinion on it. So, but anyway,
diehard Marvel fan, because there's people that absolutely love Marvel, hate DC,
and will not go see DC movies.
Won't see Marvel. I'm
but
the guy
they know
who
the
likes
people
Star Trek
who
and
do
Star
go,
Wars.
and they
I like
certainly.
Elvis and the Beatles. I like Marvel and DC, and nothing as good as Doctor Who.
Well, and they're just being silly because all you're doing is dividing your characters by a company. Because writers from DC and Marvel have switched places, and they've so if you want to sit there and say that DC's better than Marvel, no, that's not the case, because they're actually, it just all depends on the writing. If the writing's awesome, you can make any character awesome, whether it's DC, Marvel, or Dark Horse or whatever. That anybody who says only DC or only Marvel, it's ridiculously pointless, because all the writers have intertwined or changed. They all write for different people, and if it's written well, the character can be awesome. It doesn't matter.
Another interesting thing too is they borrow from a lot of one another. So if you think that kind of like Ronnie mentioned in an episode when we were talking about what was it, Justice League, and he mentioned that, or maybe I can't remember, but he mentioned that Darkseid. Hey, he's a bit of a Thanos knockoff. And it's like, no, actually, Thanos was deliberately created based on the look of Darkseid, who came first.
Whereas Deadpool is a direct knockoff of Deathstroke.
Right, but well, to them, the movie coming out beforehand is, oh, this is the first time. No, it's not. The characters were written hundreds of years.
Look, both Marvel and DC have speedsters. Both Marvel and DC have people who control fire, people who control ice. I hate Superman. He's omnipotent. He's like a god. But you have Thor, who literally is a god. So, I feel like if you can like whatever you like, but I feel like that limits.
Yeah, you're limiting yourself.
You're limiting yourself, and you're denying yourself some great story.
And there's a lot of
but I'm also a DC guy.
And there's a lot of the propaganda behind it, because to Ben's point, it's basically, you've got all these people crossbreeding and stuff, but it's the people like ourselves, but who you dive into the full lineage of Superman, and instead of somebody actually reading Superman, they'll just listen to you, Joe, and then just form their own opinion of who they think's better, without realizing that, oh my gosh, Superman is also the person who draws another comic book for Marvel. And, it's.
Although, as far as I know, Joe Simon and Simon and Schuster never actually did work for Marvel, but it doesn't matter, because once those guys made a lot of money off Superman, they eventually left anyways and created other characters. But the companies all kind of work within one another. Maybe not so much Dark Horse or Image, because they're both more based on more independent, creator-owned stuff. But so. Deadpool 2, huh?
Let's go see it again.
I am actually, now that we've been talking about this, I'm not excited for Deadpool 3, because if they're going to rush it the same way this felt rushed, I'm not that excited for it. I mean, don't get me wrong, I enjoy the film, but yeah, definitely not.
Tell you what, if it's T.J. Miller-less, I'll be more excited. But that's just me.
He was barely in this movie, though.
Yeah.
He kind of took a Negasonic, role in this too.
They were busy introducing all these other characters, half of which just a murder.
So anyway, thanks again, everybody. Thanks for hanging out to talk about Deadpool 2. This has been the Fanatics of Film. My name is Ben.
I'm Neil. Thanks for joining us, everyone. We'll see you again.
I'm Joe. I'm pretty white for a fly guy. And like and subscribe. Thanks for watching.